Nobody heard those sounds at the time. So that's a perfect example of an EVP where you don't hear it at the time, but you do hear it on the recording afterwards. This next one, we will let you listen to and decide for yourself.
That was none of our investigators. None of those breaths were our investigators, and it wasn't a computer. Play it for you again here.
That was actually, I know it sounds funny, but we moved this so people can hear it again. The point is with one breath. And the reason we know it was none of our investigators is no one was in the room at the time. We left the EVP in the room by itself. All of us were in the control room at that moment, taking a break. While the EVP was in the room by itself, everyone was downstairs. The owners of the place were in their office doing It's very low. There's a woman talking at the same time that it's saying the word, but there were no men there in that room at that time, and you clearly hear male voice.
Here we come. This is
That right there was maybe looping it several times in the row. And they said there's no men in the room, but that sounds like male voice. So, and we think it's saying come, but Sorry, they have a little long intro with this thing. It is actually larger than Mr. Manor. It is not a single building, it is an entire farm. They have several buildings and several haunted areas. Truly haunted areas, supposedly. The main one is the haunted house attraction itself, which is an actual house.
That's another side of it.
That's another side of it. As I said, it's a haunted attraction. So it looks scary, like it's supposed to, because it's a haunted attraction. This is the only horror picture we use as evidence, because it is blue.
It wasn't even taken by one of us, it was taken by
And it wasn't even taken by one of us, it was taken by a radio guest. On this investigation, we actually, a radio station actually gave us some publicity, and they had a contest. And there were about 20 extra people with us. They told us there were going to be a few, they said about 20 extra people.
Yeah,
So,
they said 4.
yeah, they told us there would be like 4, maybe. And then we get there and we find 20 extra people. But this was taken by one of them. He actually brought a camera. He was prepared. He brought a camera with him and he snapped his picture and then gave it to us. It is the only piece, it is the only orb so far that we have caught that we consider evidence because it is blue and it has its own light.
And you can tell when you go on, it's not a bug, it doesn't have slings.
See, well, some bugs seem to look circular, but the thing is, most orbs are white, which is simply the camera's flash reflecting off of whatever object is there, dust, bugs, whatever. The fact that this is blue makes it interesting in and of itself. The second fact that it has its own internal light here, as you can see, is what makes us consider evidence. But it is the only orb picture we consider evidence, yes?
Could you zoom in on the orb again? There's like this big black blob in the. It looks like
That's validation.
What, this?
No, like in the actual orb on the little dots.
Here?
No, on the orb.
Yeah. Just so you know, if you see a face, You probably will. The human brain is wired to see faces. You will see faces in a lot of things. That's why people see a face on Mars when it's actually just a mountain range. As I said, the human brain is wired to see faces, whether they be humans or whatever. So, next picture. This is some of the investigators we had on that. Again, Allie before she joined us.
Ancient history.
That's another view of the house itself. This is what they call the library in the house itself. Yes, it is creepy looking.
I promise not to follow you home.
That is one of their attraction rooms called the Ring Room. Yes, they have a TV set up that has static, just like in the movie The Ring. If anyone's ever seen that movie. Yeah, well, this one they have set up to be just like that movie. They even have a well in the center of it.
Yes, and that's Pat. He's one of our door members. That's Danny and Stacy.
Yeah.
They're leaving us here.
That's Danny, and that's Stacy, and that's Pat. Ring.
Yes. This is the problem with the example. It's not just hard.
Yes. This is a piece of dust. That people, some paranormal groups that are less thorough would say, that's a ghost, it's an orb, it's a piece of dust. So don't get excited about it. Right here. That's why we prefer digital cameras. Because I think it was me and snapped a picture, and I happened to notice something, so I went back and I reviewed it, and I'm like, oh, it's just dust.
That's the creepy attic, the ring room.
That's part of the ring room. That is actually in the building where we set up our home base, which is not modern, but they have old carriers there. Though there is some debate as to what I was talking about. My sister was in the home base, in the home base there, and she said it was just her and the radio host that was with us. They heard something moving outside. And the side of the building is open, so that's why they can tell that it was outside. It wasn't in there with them. But they didn't see anything. However, they can hear something moving, so they're not sure. It could have been an animal. It was dark, but we don't know.
It's mine's earlier.
Yes. Again, part of the haunted house.
Yeah. And that's the thing.
Yeah, that's what it looks like from the outside in the dark.
There's a living example for the reflections in this room right now. The projector, if you look there, it's reflecting off the dust up there. Yeah. If you're in a good angle to see, you can see exactly how light can reflect off.
You'll see little sparks of light in front of it.
Oh yeah. Yep, it's awesome.
That's dust. And if you're taking a still picture, it will appear as orbs. But yeah. That's all pictures. Half of these were not discovered until after we had left and were reviewing our evidence.
Guys, can we
What?
Thank you.
One of our investigators, Stacy and Danny, they actually brought a digital voice recorder with them. At the time, by the time we hit the parking lot to go home, it had mysteriously deleted all the audio on the recorder. We were bummed out about that. And we just found out in May, they popped back up when we went to O.P.R. And so we actually got to go over them, and we have about 5 or 6 of them
By the way, deleting them was not a ghost, that was a technical glitch.
Yep, and they
So-
came back, so that's good. This is
And we
one
got
of
them
the
back,
original ones.
Yeah. Supposedly, I'm going to pause it for a second.
Supposedly there's a ghost there named Arthur. So, he's supposedly a father type person, but he's not exactly nice. He can be mean when he wants to be. Yes?
Say on the mine is long.
Yes, we'll get,
Yeah.
We'll get to that.
We'll get to that in a moment.
Patience.
Because there's no recorded ghost there named Ron, but oh, they disagree. See, you researched it, so you know better than I do. Whatever. Okay, she knows the history better than I do. Don't listen to me.
so, there's also a ghost in there named Billy, and he's a nicer,
He's a child.
child, they say. We'll go with that.
Anyway, the reason I mentioned the ghost is because this one we think is Arthur.
Or one of his friends.
Billy the colors aren't the best, okay? And we made it red. We made the wording red. Follow me to the attic. I just hear Arthur, but other people have said they hear Arthur, he's one of us, you know, things like that. I just hear the name Arthur, but people hear different things. That's what like class B. We can't make out some of the words.
And it just so happens that Mike was explaining to the guests saying, Arthur's in here, and Billy and Arthur in here is in here, and Arthur's for that.
Yes, I was explaining to our radio guests about the ghost of Billy and Arthur, and then we caught that EVP while I was talking about Billy and Arthur. Yes?
That's one we'll have to go back over again when it comes on.
Yeah. I didn't actually know that. Oh, that's because of the quality of the recording. We did not have our new one yet. We had a tape recorder.
No, that wasn't it, though, when you were
Oh, that was digital?
That just happens when I had to amplify and mix some notes.
You have some weird program.
Trying to find all this beforehand, before all this stuff. I didn't know. This wasn't possible.
Following was recorded in the library. One of Haunted Hollow's staff named John was trying to talk to whoever was in the house. Sorry, it's a little long. I'll amplify in a second.
You think we hear murder? The word murder. Play it again. Well, let's just listen to it again. best recorded ghost, so I was wrong about that.
Well, I mean, the APP itself is a Class C because you really have to listen to it to hear it. But what happened is we actually researched it. We researched it with the library and looked up the history line. Apparently, Fort Haunted Hollow was made, it used to be called the William Vaughn Farm. And so we thought originally was saying R-O-N, but it's actually R-A-H-N. That's in the last name. And I'm thinking William is the so-called Billy.
It sounds the same way though. It's pronounced the same way, even though it's spelled different than the normal Ron. Yes, you raise your hand.
Oh, I was just going to say what you said. Really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's what we were thinking.
Yeah, like we said, it's very low. We think it's saying my name is wrong. She showed the alternate spelling of it, the R-A-H-N. Yeah. It's pronounced the same, just spelled differently. She was showing that it ties into the history with the name wrong.
This, we actually had to throw out, but I was giving you an example. We actually have it as interesting because it's outside, and it could be anything. It could be someone down the block screaming, it could be animals howling.
This was classified as a Class D. You can actually hear it, but we don't know what it is, and there's no way to truly debunk it because it was caught and captured outside. So it could be anything, yes?
It was there way before Halloween.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was before, but it was not on Halloween. That's their haunted house. They have a haunted house that I think it was business. I know. I'm guessing.
It was the week before Halloween. Right. Yes, it's very low, you know. Like I said, that would be classified as a Class D. You can somewhat hear it. But again, it's outside, we don't know, there's no way to debunk it. It could have been anything.
This was recorded in the library, which you saw a picture of earlier with all the books and everything.
still confirmed or still confirmed or still confirmed or
Yeah, the first part of the room was cut off by one of us talking, but that would be between class A and B because you can hear it, but since someone's already talking, you can't make out the entire word. We think it's yes. Like I said, you hear yes. Some part of these things, like I said. So that's why we leave up your judgment to decide what you hear.
still confirmed or still confirmed or still confirmed or still confirmed or
Any other questions? What is the person saying before they say yes? What does it mean?
It's parents saying so for fun or it's so for practice. Because the last one of the photos there was
In the photo that shows you of the library, there was a sewing machine, so she was asking if they were sewed and whether they sewed for fun or whether they were repairing garments or whatever. Clothes.
yes.
Yeah.
Now, these are the ones that we found in the last
Yeah, this is from the same date, but we just found it last month. Falling was recorded in or near the stuffed animal room, and it looks like that.
That is the stuffed animal room. They have stuffed animals
On the wall,
blanketing the
ceiling.
room. Walls, ceiling, floor.
Another team was playing the piano.
I just go throw my door back there to scare the holy shit out of me. I just go throw my door back there to scare the holy shit out of me.
Don't mimic the language.
You don't know what that word means.
This hypnotic voice. So we couldn't really hear it, what it was saying.
Yeah, you can make out what it was saying, but you can hear it. That was class C. You can't make out what it's saying.
Technically, sound good, classic, but
Sound-wise, yes, it's loud up here, but it was class C. You can't make out what it's saying.
this was low.
This was in the reading room.
It is the other side. You're not where I raised this on your building. Yeah, that was our investigator, because there was something that happened in between that.
What's that?
Again, some things that are really, really light, all I gotta do is go to the website.
This one should be easy to hear.
This was recorded in the attic again.
I believe in you and I know that you can show yourself and make yourself heard one more time. Can you do that possibly?
She's asking it to make itself known, to give us a sign that it's there, sound, you know,
Show us
show us.
I believe in you and I know that you can show yourself and make yourself heard one more time. Can you do that for us, please?
It was right after she said, or make yourself heard one more time. Can you do that for us, please? And then we hear that sound. It was in response to our question. It sounds like a question. Again, recorded in the attic. That's where a lot of the activity seems to be.
Can you move something else for us?
Yeah. You know those sticks that you just saw in the picture? It threw one of them at one of our people. Go ahead.
Shut off my recorder. Can you shut off my recorder?
It says right after, it actually was shutting off the voice recorder multiple times.
Can you shut off my recorder? Can you shut off my recorder?
These are kind of like the same stick approach. You're throwing, but it has like tumbleweeds in there. And I think that we can move. Yeah, the rest are, yeah. This is the hot spot.
This is actually 4 separate EVPs that are all similar, so we go together.
I know that you're here. Can you just give me some kind of sign that you're here? Billy, I know that you're here. That was whispering. Hi, Billy. Is there anything you would like to tell us?
And number 4.
I know that you're here. Can you just give me some kind of sign that you're here? Billy, I know that you're here. That was whispering. Hi, Billy. Is there anything you would like to tell us?
The thing is, most of them are tumbleweeds or those sticks moving around. However, we do not consider these confirmed evidence because we did have guests we don't know there, and then there were mice in the area as well. So it could have been anything moving sticks.
That's why it's marked.
So we have these little marks interesting instead of confirmed evidence.
Yeah, of course.
We don't know what fell. You can hear one of the trees moving. But as for what fell, we have no idea because there wasn't anything on the floor. We turned the light when we turned our flashlights on to find out what had fallen. There was nothing on the floor. I know what they told me.
Well, maybe just ghost is good at picking things up.
Some are.
How did they pick everything up? Maybe it was a wife and it was cleaning the house.
There's debate on how ghosts can wake up. Some people believe that if they exert enough energy, they can affect the physical world. You ever heard of ectoplasm? Okay, well, that. Some people believe that if they exert enough energy, they can affect the physical world through ectoplasm. Other people believe they can just do it without, exerting too much energy. Theories vary.
Alright, this one is a collection of 5 different things where they got rocks thrown at them. And then the same is collected.
Can you open up this door that is not necklace?
Can you make my voice recorder shut off?
You are here, know something, taught something, touch one of us. I'm gonna give you kind of very awesome say Mississippi. Just do something. One, Mississippi. Two, Mississippi. Three.
Can you throw another one, Billy? I know that you're here, I know that you can do it.
It's all out of something. Billy, actually know something. Do something.
I'm not Billy, you're there. How many are you gonna throw?
One. Can you open up this door?
You can clearly hear marbles or something in the floor. Rocks, marbles, whatever. Maybe something small. Speaking of Mountain Hollow, actually, there's one thing that we don't have on EVP or anything that I had as a personal experience there. I was up in one of the rooms, and I was with about 5 other people, and I did something that's commonly done by a lot of ghost hunters. I went, and then off and let the ghost complete it. I heard the response of, and then I heard that, the two knocks. So I did it again. Again, I got 2 knocks and the sequence. I got on the radio because there was another group down in the library. They said they didn't hear a thing and it wasn't them that did it. And the person that was leading that group I know and I trust, so it wasn't them as far as I'm concerned. Because he's one of our investigators that was actually, he's actually the one that left and he's not here anymore. He's overseas. But I trust him, and he was leading the group in the library. So my only conclusion that I can come to is that it was the spirits responding to me. You have a question? Oh. So that was just an example of personal experience that we didn't catch any kind of evidence on EVP or anything. You will get those sometimes if you go smut.
Does anyone here watch Ghost Lab? Well, myself, our friend Stephanie, and two of our investigators, Danny and Stacy, got to go to Frog recently and investigate with the guys from Ghost Lab, as well as Johnny Hauser, and they're making that new show, The Truth. We're going to be on an episode of The Truth. And this is the Frog Schoolhouse coming to, that's the schoolhouse. It was shut down around 2000. Not sure the exact date. There's Johnny filming in the gym. And there's us at the side of your photo. Danny's on the left, Stacy's on the right. And there's me with Johnny, who looks like he is on something. He was actually there the night that we were with them filming, so we probably didn't get much sleep. And there's us with Raspberry Place and Ghost Lab and O.P.R. This is awesome. It's only the room that we knew of that had chairs, and I don't even know if it's the original chair or not, but and the bathroom. There's Brad. Yeah, I felt something, so just he actually at one point tried to block all the doors and trap something in one of the rooms to get something to happen, but it didn't work. This is the teacher's lounge area.
What was?
This has a kind of story. You know when you watch them when they scream, and first when I thought about that, well, it's kind of rude. He's yelling at the enemies, and that just seems really mean. But he told us, he explained it to us that when we get EVPs, like most of them come out all whispering stuff, and we don't know, maybe they were talking out loud and didn't turn out to do like that. So he was thinking if we project ourselves louder, maybe they can hear us better on the side. And so we were slamming doors and locking doors, and he just had the broom handle hanging on the fire alarm. That was loud. We will never do this in O.P.R. Just listen to the EVPs and constantly have to go, and it doesn't work. That's the only
Screamers. More than anything, just
yeah,
screamers.
it was a horrible experience with the those EVPs. And there's Johnny. That's one of the Maxwell iPhone. I only got one EVP, and it's debatable because some people think it's wind, I think there's something else. The story behind this. We had just come back from dinner, we were still waiting for the Clinton brothers and Johnny Miller to come back. And I was only myself alone in the entire building because we were on the south side. I was in the gym setting up the EVP and the equipment, getting ready. And another guy comes down from a different group and he has to go use the restroom. And he goes, is anybody in there? And I go, no, I don't think so. And then he makes a funny little joke over here. Is anyone dead in there? Kind of laugh and then we continue to ourselves. And here it is for after we check the board. And we try to amplify the team. It's not very good.
Maggie hears yes, no. I hear the wind because, to tell you the truth, I've heard the wind do some weird things before
So it does scream.
when in the confined space.
And I didn't know exactly because there was a kind of almost the Vista area, but on the third floor, the wind can actually sound like a girl screaming. So it is very possible that it's just the wind, but our God just
So we use that one as our test. We put that one in our interesting folder because we can't prove that it was a ghost. Villisca. The Villisca Axe Murder House. How many of you have heard of it?
We're going there September 28th.
And this time I will be here.
This is actually the first investigation that we have that Allie will be on.
Well,
That's not true.
I've been on private cases, house residences.
This is the first major investigation.
However, I have heard a lot about it, researched a lot about it, etc. So, yeah.
We're kind of
Yes.
staying really excited.
2 days ago, it was in the newspaper.
Right, because that was the centennial, 100-year anniversary of the actual murders.
Yep, we're going to get to go investigate on another period.
It's not celebrating as much as it is recognizing that it is part of this town's heritage. It's respectful, more or less, because there were 8 people that died, and there were 2 adults and the rest were children. We don't know.
6 weeks.
Yeah, we'll be going there soon, and her and I have been going over any YouTube videos we can get our hands on and do too, also.
For those of you that don't know what Villisca is, 8 people were murdered there. 6 children and 2 adults. All of them were murdered in their sleep. Only one person was burned while awake. She had defensive wounds on her arms and she was a child. She was 12 years old. She had defensive wounds on her, which is how she was awake.
My turn. My turn is going to be interesting because I get the part of it that people think is just nuts. They think it's mental illness, and it's not.
Sensitivity.
Yep, that's me. I have known for quite a long time that I am a paranormal sensitive, and essentially that just means I am sensitive to any kind of paranormal activity. That means seeing, hearing, feeling. I also have something called empathy, which means that I can feel the emotion and the emotional state of others. And actually that works better with the dead than it does with the living, which is odd, but I guess it's good in conjunctivity with my gift. And yes, I do call it a gift. However, the entire reason that I chose to bring this up is because there's a lot of things you have to distinguish. First of all, there is such a thing as mental disease that makes you see things that you might construe as paranormal. Which is why I say if you have these kinds of things happen to you, please go to the doctor first. Because, but go to the doctor. It's not to go to a psychiatrist. In fact, the psychiatrist that I currently go to for bipolar disorder actually recognizes that I have some sort of sensitivity, which is very rare, I believe. In any case, I'm sure you guys have all heard of psychics such as, I don't know if you guys know, Sylvia Brown or Chip Coffey. Yep, Chip Coffey was on Paranormal State. Okay, essentially there are several different types of gifts. One is the psychic gift, which is essentially you can see various parts of consciousness, meaning, sometimes future, past, present. And it does also work with spirits as well as the living. Also, being a psychic can mean being a collective of different gifts, meaning you can have all sorts of things. Which brings me to the clairs, C-L-A-I-R, clairs. Now, clair literally has to do with clarity. So you have, and I have them written up here, I don't know if you guys can see them. You have clairvoyance, which is the most well-known of the clairs, which just means sight. You have clear sight, and can apply to, all of these can apply to various types of things, including spirits and the living. Then you have clairsentience. Clairsentience has to do with feeling or touching. And that can be very difficult because the majority of people with clairsentience are literally, if you touch an object, everything has energy, living energy on it. And if somebody with clairsentience touches something with, that's of some sort of importance, they're going to get lots of flashes of different lives, different feelings, emotions. It can be a very, very difficult thing. I have met clairsentient people who have had to go around wearing gloves and long-sleeved everything in every type of weather because touching anything is unbearable from what you can see from that touch.
Then you have clairaudience, which, as you can probably guess, has something to do with hearing or listening. It all basically is the same. It all has to do with your consciousness. Essentially, these are forms of extrasensory perception, or ESP, which means the ability to gain information through means other than your original 5 senses, pardon me.
Then you have clairalience, which is one that I actually did not know about until recently, which has to do with your sense of smell. You can actually get pictures through sense of smell. I did not know that because I do not have that particular gift. Then you have claircognizance, which is you're literally, you just know. You don't know where the information comes from. You just know. It's just there. Then you have clairgustance, which is tasting. Yeah, tasting. You taste something and it gives you a flash of something. And yeah, that can be confusing. This can all be very confusing.
Then to go along with your psychics, you have a trance and physical medium, essentially which it means that they can channel a spirit, through a trance sort of state. And they can be inhabited physically by a spirit, which can be extremely dangerous and very, it can be scary. The reason being, because at the point of communication, the person who is the medium just loses control, because at that point the spirit has control, which you should never do that, guys.
I should never let anybody else but yourself have control of that. As for, basic sensitivity is just a feeling or a sight or, feel a touch on you that you can't really explain. Being age sensitive can be difficult in a lot of ways because you see things you don't often want to see. You know things you don't often want to know. Because of that scene. However, if you have a primitive sensitivity, don't think of yourself as crazy.
That's not craziness at all. That's not any kind of, mental illness. It's a gift. It's something that we're all given. I have a strong belief, and this is my own belief, that 100% of the population of Earth is sensitive to some point. However, the majority of us tend to dampen this sensitivity, ignore it, call it something completely different.
Which essentially brings me to your dormant and mute sensitives. Yes, Mike?
I was just saying
that's you? You're dormant and mute sensitive? But you still get that creepy sensation at the, have you ever, been in a random place and just for no reason have had that prickling on the back of your neck where you're thinking somebody's with you, you have that feeling of being watched, you have that, shadow in the corner of your eyesight. Whoa. Yes. That is why I say it can be a dormant with you because you to ignore it. And then I'm going to come back around to investigation with sensitivity. As a sensitive, and this is something that I choose personally, I take it by case. If I feel something, and it's really, really, it's just profound and it's not going away, I will mention it.
I will mention it, but for the most part, I try not to use sensitivity with an investigation. Sometimes they just do not mix. Sometimes it can be dangerous, and I don't really have an actual example of this, but from personal experiences. But I've heard a lot of things go wrong because of using sensitivity with an investigation.
And I do believe also that sensitivity and audibility should be used to help other people. It's not supposed to be something like I look at. This is just from personal views. Sylvia Brown, who has all these books and does all these TV appearances, and she gets a lot of money from that. And I don't really think that's an appropriate thing given what you are working with as sensitive or something. You should not make a capitalism on the dead, in my opinion. Let's see. All right, and then last thing I would like to touch on is safety. If you are sensitive and working in an environment with your sensitivity, I prefer to use a spotter, babysitter, basically it's all the same thing, to make sure that you're not following your sense to someplace dangerous or doing something that's dangerous. Don't think you're invincible just because you have sensitivity. That's what I tell a lot of people. And then absolutely lastly, I recently founded a group called the Average Sensitive, meaning we're all normal people, who have something that's a little different, And this flyer I have here, you guys can come up and get one if you want after we're done. The Average Sensitive literally is just a group that will, resources and support. Literally just want to assist anybody who has a sensitivity, and it's literally just focused on sensitivity, psychic, medium, any kind of paranormal related gift, basically. So that's